Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Swissnex Boston. My name is Nicola Yorno and I'm project leader for innovation and entrepreneurship here at the consulate. We're here tonight to celebrate what we called la grande soirée scientifique de la francophonie, which has to be fit in a larger context, actually in a 1 month celebration of the francophonie here in New England. So during the month of March, Swissnex and our francophone partners are organizing a large array of events around the theme of the francophonie. Among these, we actually have the Francophone Film Festival, which will be kicked off on Thursday, this Thursday, at the Coolidge Corner with the Swiss film Left Foot, Right Foot, if I'm correct. But let's focus on tonight. We have the honor of having among us Elmar Mock, the co-inventor of Swatch. He will be interviewed on this stage by journalist Heidi Legg. I had already the pleasure to hear to his talks at Yale yesterday night and at Northeastern today at lunch. And it was amazing. So his insights about disruptive innovation were colored by an incredible repertoire of, I would say, zoological, physical, metaphysical metaphors, so to say. But before we jump into that, I would like, first of all, to thank Elmar for being among us tonight. Thank you, Heidi, for jumping to this opportunity. And also a big warm thank you goes to the Swissnex team for lining up the organization of this event so smoothly. A particular thank goes to our Miss Francophonie, who is not among us tonight because she is sick, Sophie Sitam. Another particular thank goes to David, who works with me in innovation. And then I also would like to extend a warm thank to all the partners of the Francophonie. I hope the list is exhaustive. Please excuse me if I forgot someone. So, la mission pour la science et la technologie de l'ambassade de France, la délégation du Québec à Boston, j'ai vu Sophie parmi nous, le comité national des conseillers du commerce de la France, la French American Chamber of Commerce, French Tech Hub, la représentation de Wallonie-Bruxelles, je veux Maxime parmi nous, ouais. Et je pense que c'est tout. And without further ado, please give a warm round of applause to our guest tonight. Thank you very much.
Je dois vous dire que j'étais très contente d'être invitée par les Suisses comme une Canadienne pour la semaine du francophonie parce que comme une Canadienne anglaise, j'ai jamais l'opportunité d'utiliser mon français en Boston. Alors, ça m'a donné grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous et aussi de savoir que l'interview sera en anglais. Bienvenue.
Bienvenue à tout le monde aussi.
Je dois vous dire que aussi, mon mari a passé beaucoup de temps en Zurich et on a la chance de faire le ski en Rougemont. Alors, s'il y a la chance de faire une interview avec une autre personne de Suisse ou avec toi, M. Mock, en Suisse, au Rougemont, je serai là, gratuit. Thank you for taking the time with us.
Yeah.
I think that we should start with the 3 elements that you talk about for innovation because they are your own. And I'd like you to define them for the audience to have them begin to think about the way you think. Technosophy, creativity, and exploration, with curiosity as the common denominator. Will you define these?
Yeah, first, it's a lot of questions in one shot. So
Yes, it is.
first, you must understand that I came in creativity and innovation a little bit by coincidence. it was my target was not to make a Swatch. It was to find a good solution, making possible that we can make a good quality watch full in Switzerland for low cost. So my first target was simply a cheap watch. And it was a long way to come to this fashion who ticks. And this take 5 years to have really success. And I decided to quit the company because, you know, I was a chaotic man. I am still today, and my wife can confirm that. So basically, I was an anarchist, young. And I was very lucky to be in a company close of bankruptcy. A fantastic freedom. Can you imagine? 12,000 people, 4,000 was losing their job. So the 8,000 who was surviving was trying to protect themselves. And I was coming in this company. So I was 22 years old, and I was fantastic free. Nobody was controlling me. I was not able to be controlled, and I was not looking to be controlled. And I proposed a solution how to make watches in a cheap way to my boss, Ernst Thomke. Without Ernst Thomke, we'll never be the product. Jacques Müller and me, we were the inventors, and Ernst Thomke was the president of the company. It was like a Steve Jobs at that time. Really a great people, fantastic guy. And I proposed him to survive. I explained him why I need an injection molding machine for $500,000 in a company close of bankruptcy. And to don't get out of the company, I make a drawing in 1 hour with my friend Jacques to demonstrate the technology potential of that time of new technology. And he said yes. We had the freedom to do it. He protected us, and we realized the product. And suddenly, through the success of the product, it was absolutely unplanned. We was never imagined that Swatch will be such a success. The first name of the product was Vulgaris. The second name was Popularis. And Swatch became much later, close of market introduction. The first target was Africa, India, South America. It was not fashion. Fashion idea came later again. We say it's not made no sense to make a cheap watch. We have to change the system. And so what is fascinating is this evolution. Because the story, what you hear about product development, are most of them wrong. They are fairy tale. They told you something to sell a product. They make a nice history around the product to can make a nice environment.
Well, let's go back to
and
something
I come to the questions. Mm-hmm. Now, I quit the company because the company had such a lot of success that all the people I hate, this organizer, SAP, quality control, ISO 9000, was all coming in the company. And say they're crazy, they will never innove again. And I quit the Swatch group, starting my own company, Creaholic. Creaholic is a thickness, and I don't try to heal. I hope to keep Creaholic. And I will not the Creaholic Anonym organization. I want that to all become Creaholic. So the target was for me, what can I sell? And I discovered that I don't know what is possible. And I saw such a difficulty in every company. Because in the beginning, I was thinking that the boss of Swatch was becoming crazy. And I cannot work with these people. I started my own company, and I say exactly the same crazy guy everywhere. So I was like in the highway, hearing that somebody is coming in the contrary direction and say, 1,000. I was maybe in the wrong direction. And so I make the model gas liquid crystal for me, for myself, to understand what is my role. And I ask me, is creativity something unusual? And the answer is terrible. We are creative bonobos. We are creative monkey. But so creative that our world is fantastic. I love what the humanity has made. And it's the creativity of the human being. So most of us are able to be creative. Or are creative.
But I think that it was very important to note that when you were at Swatch, you had ordered a very expensive piece of machinery around plastics, only because I think it shows the way that someone who is in a curiosity state acts inside any company, and those are the people that companies want to have, but often they feel like troublemakers. I mean, you were called into the office of the president at the time for ordering this, I think it was 500,000 Swiss franc piece of equipment without asking permission from anybody, and the next thing you knew, it worked. I mean, talk about that piece of disruption of you as someone pushing against the boundaries.
Yeah, but basically I was a young guy, was trying to play. My target was to enjoy. I was not understanding in that moment what's happened in me. The reason why I said it was not a target, it was a coincidence. But once I had the chance to jump in the coincidence, I was working hardly to make it happen. And I discovered the pleasure of innovation. And what I was trying to explain you before, and is the question of gas, liquid, crystal, is a metaphor to explain why creative people are so creative and they don't accept creativity. We all human, we can be creative. Like water is a molecule, and a water molecule could be in gas, in liquid, or in crystal shape. It's only a mental stage. And the mental stage creativity is all this illusion, dream, fantasy, maybe something impossible, maybe explosion, chaos. This is the gas. The liquid is cool. What we try to condensate to bring a certain density. It can be an old idea of what you melt to make a new out of it. But it's hard time. It's also blood. It's perspiration.
So we've gone from gas to liquid.
You get liquid. And the solid is the know-how. It's university. It's our world. And we are so afraid to die that we all fill our calendar with our agenda with time, so we are sure we will survive the next 3 months. And with the agenda, we give us the illusion of eternity. And the problem is, the world is driven by crystal people. And crystal is the maturity. But a new idea is always in gas. And your gas had to be transformed, so you have a love-hate relation between gas and liquid. And how to deal. Because the gas people, they hate the crystal one. They say they are crazy, they see only money, they are only logic, they are only timing, they have only a target.
You call the crystal, solid, stability all the same thing, right? Crystal, solid, and
Crystal
stability.
solid is for me this organized with low level of energy but very high density. This is the world. And we are becoming man in the crystal, but the crystal disappears. We have the illusion of eternity. The eternity is short. Very short. So we have to reinvent us. So we have to go back to the gas because the crystal cannot go out of its structure. And this love-hate relation make that it's so difficult to innovate in an environment having success. The reason why, and the key element is how can you collaborate between these two shapes, these two mental stages? They are human. They share the same. But they are totally different vision.
Can you define for everyone, because they may not be, I've had the advantage of reading ahead of time about your 3 stages of gas, then liquid, then what you call solid or crystal. Can you tell them a little bit about the liquid stage? Because we get the extreme of the gas and the solid now.
The liquid stage is the fascinated stage when you was at school. A turbulent kid has to sit down and to learn a language and a mathematics. It has to condensate. But if you are in research development, you are also in this condensation world. And research development is considering as, is more development than research, is the phase to make the crystal bigger. So the crystal with the companies, the organization, or our society has a certain tolerance for liquid. Because they know they need a transformation to grow the crystal. But the gas, they hate that. And now how to make all this connection. And that was all the difficulty I had. And the idea of this model was simply to understand that I am working between gas and liquid. And my client, the company, the society, is working between crystal and liquid. And we don't understand each other because we don't use the same wording. For example, innovation. Most of the people, if they think innovation, they change the color of a glass and they say they innovate. They renovate it. Most of the things are renovation, making that tomorrow morning is the continuity of today. And of course, 95% of the energy of the humanity is to make that tomorrow morning is a little bit different than today, but not too much. And the innovation is making that the day after tomorrow could be totally different than yesterday. And this is a difficult provocation.
But let's talk about Apple and Swatch. Those are two companies that everybody looks at today in the consumer goods space and says, wow, look at what they've done. Look at the solid group is saying, look at the revenue. The gas group is saying, wow, I want to be like Elmar Mock and Steve Jobs. So how do we promote that inside some of these very large companies that today have the GDP of a nation? How do we allow the gas to breathe, or can it not exist in the big companies?
That is a deep. First, if the brain don't want, innovation is for nothing. If the boss of the company, if the people having the money are not open for innovation, is for nothing. They can kill innovation anytime. So the problem is to have really a brain who want to have innovation. Now you have to have a genetic to make the innovation, because innovation is maybe making a new life. Frogs innovated, in them they make 1,000 eggs and 3 survive. That is apps in software. But heavy industry, they are like elephant. They make every 20 years a new technology. They have a long time to have a baby. But if you do, innovation is having a baby. It's not making a genetic mixture. It's really how to grow the system that you have a chance to survive. And now, if the company don't understand that, they make a misunderstanding in the survival instinct. The first survival instinct is I have to eat, I have to hunt, I have to be protected. The short term. Tomorrow morning, I still have to be alive. The other way of surviving instinct is I should have a baby. It's two different things. And a healthy mom cannot have baby. An unhealthy man cannot have baby. So you must be healthy. So you must be agile. And birds are genius. Birds, they are flying, they are hunting. They are extremely rapid. But they don't fly with eggs. A bird always places the eggs somewhere in protection and look that the eggs survive.
That's a wonderful
hunting
metaphor.
for the chicken. But elephant has another way. So the life shows us that there are a lot of possibility to bring life to come. And if we are not careful, we will not have the next generation. And if we only hunt, we will never have baby. So we have to hunt, and we have to have baby. And this is difficult to understand, because he's asking to somebody to be world champion and pregnant simultaneously.
I want to go back to your childhood, because you served me up with some excellent research done by the HSA in Montreal, where you talked about being a difficult child. You had many schemes until you hit your stride in your later studies, which perhaps you call the liquid phase. Do you think you would be considered difficult today? Do you think you were born a century too early?
I think a French philosopher was saying, I born too young in a too old world. It's such a lot of invention. It's such a lot of fascinating element. Go to a museum. Look what the nature has made. Look what the humanity has made. Look, the art is incredible. But we still have to change. The art of innovation is recognizing the disturbing factor. What disturbs people? With fashion, you have only a short-time pleasure. But if you resolve a problem, you have a long-time pleasure. So we have to focus on solving disturbing factor, and the research of the right disturbing factor is the key of the long-term success. Or you have to change so often product that the people don't remark that your product is not so interesting.
Can you think of some long-term problem solving that you really admire that's happened?
So I'm working for the last 10 years a lot about water, about questions like hygiene, how can I solve use less energy. So we make 3 startups out of these questions.
This is at Creaholic.
Creaholic is, we are mercenary. We are working, our clients are BMW, Nestle, Bosch, Roche, Tetra Pak, and all this. They are our client. And we serve them, and we develop for them a lot of things. Exactly what we do for a startup. We are an intracubator. In US, you have the chance to have incubation and startup. Okay, it's nice. But you have the chance of a market, because the people are ready to buy startup. In Europe, The company, they don't make young people rich. Hey, what is that? Paying 100 million for something who costs 2 million to develop? Are you crazy? So they try to make their own development. Nespresso was an intracubation. Swatch was an intracubation. So in Europe, the tendency is more in intracubation. So the company are looking for people. Now, I think the bird model is very interesting. The bird is, the company has to be agile, has to be good, has to hunt, and we have to have some eggs, but not every eggs. They want to choose their kids, and they want to choose the male. And they choose one place, and for me, area like Boston, area like Swissnex or Bienne are typical area where you have this opportunity to place a net where you can grow an egg and have a success. But because the mother, she has to be agile. She has to continue to look that tomorrow morning exists. She has to continue to survive.
Why do you think that these places are perfect for that sort of nesting?
It's very strange. You see, in my personal life, I cannot be creative. Creativity is like going in the sea. It's a lot of waves, a lot of wind. It's terrible. You have to have a haven where you can go and relax, when you can find your balance. I need a family. I need to feel well. I need an environment with hospital, with policemen, with structure. A country like Switzerland, we say in German, Bünzli. Bünzli means very traditional conservative. This very conservative society with votation, with a strange way of politics, the most creative country for the last 10 years, how it's possible? Because you need a balance. You need a certain minimum safety, not luxury, safety, feeling well.
You think that Switzerland has been one of the most creative countries?
We have that, but I think in Boston you have that too. Mm-hmm. We need also an environment with smart people, with education. Mm-hmm. Because I was speaking for gas. Gas is only effective if the guide was going to the crystal to understand know-how. If you have no know-how, you cannot realize. So you have to study, you have to learn, you have to go in the deep to change, to go again in the liberty. And this is difficult. Not everyone will do that, because 95% of the need of the industry is deepness, not horizontality. It's not the exploration we need, it's the exploitation. Now innovation is the cross line between exploration and exploitation. And this is typical area like Boston, area like Switzerland, who make that possible.
Tell me, the MIT Media Lab has sponsors as their members. That's how they sustain themselves along with the university funding. Are you the same thing at Creaholic, or how are you different from the MIT Media Lab?
So we are sponsor for nobody. So we are mercenary.
So those companies pay you, they pay you a fee, they're not a sponsor.
All our money is paid by work. So we are a very strange structure because we fight for people, we develop people who are owned for this company, and only 15% of our activity is trying to demonstrate that we are able also to go in the reality, to learn the other part of the world. The big problem of entrepreneurial spirit is taking risks, be convinced and convince people. And this you can only learn by doing. So we say in German, to understand is to take something in your hand, is to grip it. So you have to grip, you have to go in the reality, you have to do things. And this is so important. And once you have that, you have not only the thinking, the doing. And now the reality of money. What is money? What is work? What is the value of work? How can you sell your activity? Is as important than the know-how you have. And so in Creaholic, we have developed this special case that we have no sponsor, we have no support, no government support, we don't educate anybody. We are a team of people, 30 people, a mix of designers, of lawyers, of engineers, of material specialists, of physicists, working together to help company to transform something who can come to world.
So if Tetra Pak comes to you or Nestle, what is it that they're coming to you for, and what can we learn from the model of the relationship you have with those larger corporations?
For example, my first client was Tetra Pak. And it was because the CTO for Tetra Pak was flying to Japan behind the marketing boss from Swatch. And they was 12 hours in the airplane. It was boring. So they started to discuss. And suddenly the guy for Tetra Pak said, yeah, we are working with polymer, you too. Say, yeah. And the inventors of the Swatch is now free on the market. He started his own company. 1 week later, I received a phone for the CTO for Tetra Pak, come one to visit us. I was not knowing who is Tetra Pak. For me, it was nothing. So I go to them, and I started to discuss. I said, yeah, good idea. Yeah, okay. We engage you for 1 day per week for 3 months. And that was my first order. Tetra Pak is still working with me after 29 years. Why? They have made a study after more than 15 years collaboration. They have looked how many patents, how many products, how many hours we spend, so we cost to the company, in comparison with their best internal team. We need the internal team. It's not we are working with them.
Yes, tell me, why do we need the internal team?
Yeah, you know, a spermatozoid needs also an ovule. You need both. You need not only external thing, you need something internal, because the know-how in the company is great. The problem is how you can transform it, how you can make a modification, and this is the art. So by Tetra Pak, the best team was 10 times less effective than we are, but it was honest, because we can only sell half of our hours. If we give 1 hour to a client, in reality, he buy for 2, because we have only 50% efficiency. 50% is research and looking around. So a double cost. So in reality, 1 hour is equal to. It's still 5 times more. It's not very honest, because they have to go in meetings, they have to share, they have to discuss, they have to exchange, they have to go in so
They're
a
left
lot
with
of
like
things.
1 hour of creativity a day.
Maybe we have a factor 3, but I think we have effective a factor 2 to 3. Why? Because we are in the openness. We are transporting idea from one industry to the other one. We are like bees transporting pollen. What we learn by one industry, bring to the other one. Because you can never work with competitors. If you are working with Tetra Pak, you cannot anymore work for competitors. If you are working for Nestle, you cannot work for Danone. So we are forced to move. We are people, we are moving people. We are like nomad. We change countries every day. We don't know what will be tomorrow, but we know that we have to eat where we are.
But that is more exciting, because our interviews that we do on the editorial, we'll do a philanthropy, and then we'll do academic, and then we'll do a creative force, and then we'll do someone in enterprise, and that makes it far more exciting to do that cross-pollination.
The cross-pollination is key, because you have to work, and you have to do things, and you have to have concept and to move back to know-how and to go back at the concept, and you have to change your world always. You must never build a building. You must never have your house somewhere, because you become a specialist. And specialists in the deepness go in to know more in what you still know. Innovation is trying to discover what you don't know. So we are Neanderthal. We are very primitive people. And we try to discover the world, and we try to experiment, and we exchange the pollen, like bees are going from one flowers to the other one.
So do you think that every corporation should have some sort of creaholic on call all the time?
I think it will come, it's a natural way. The problem is not creaholic. We seek pollination. We can see in the nature animals. For example, it's some strange animals, like the monkey we are the same wife for life. Most of the animals, they chose the best male during the year they want to have a baby. And so they are a selection with an open system. So the creative people, they are in reality in the what we described as male, because they bring the external genetic, and they have only one tribe, make as small baby as possible. The mothers are the industry, the mothers is the organization, the mothers are the company, and they want to grow up 2 kids or 3 kids and not more. They want to assure the future of the tribe.
Well, it's amazing if all these big corporations are
totally
matriarchs, why they don't pay the women the same as men. That's fascinating.
No. It's nothing to do with gender. It's nothing to do with gender. It's a question of a mentality. And you have a lot of men have a mentality of the mother because they want to bring something to the end. A lot of girls have the mentality of a male because they want to do something new every day. So it's not the big problem of creative people. It's not to produce idea. It's to select an idea and to bring an idea to birth, to reality.
To birth.
And this is the difficulty. It's not having idea is difficult. It's very easy to have idea. You have a lot of idea. If you make a brainstorming, it's an intellectual diary with some diamond inside.
And everybody loves to be part of it.
Look that for the diamonds, you have to go in the middle of the not very clear soup around. And you know, the group is not the way. If you make 20 monkey working in exchanging idea, you will have monkey idea.
So for people who are here tonight to hear about the creative process from you, someone that they really admire who is able to think very freely and cross-pollinate, what should they do in these companies if they want to take a brainstorming and find the diamond? What should they be doing and looking for?
The basic rules are very simple. It's valid for every worker and is valid for the direction and is valid for also the people investing money. An entrepreneurial spirit is based on your personal conviction. Are you really convinced? Life is short. Life is like a gun with 4 bullets. A product needs 10 years to be realized. You have only 4 bullets and you have to get to the right point. So don't think that you have time for a lot of ideas. You have 4 bullets in your life. And now you must be convinced that you are in the right direction and you want to have that realized. Convince yourself first. Secondly, you must be able to convince your environment, your friend, your family, investors. So you can only convince if you are really deeply convinced and take a risk. It's easy to say the other has to bring the money. It's easy. No, you have to take the risk. If you are not taking risk, you are not an entrepreneur, you are looking for a job. Look for a job. Don't try to make something. And that is valid on every level of the company. And of course, a part of the company is focused on the actual surviving tomorrow project, is the projection of today. And only 5% is focused on how could it be when the day after could be different. And now they need protection. They need protection, but they need engagement. It's very easy. It was Charles de Gaulle who shocked all the CNRS, the research in France. He was saying, des chercheurs qui cherchent, on en trouve. Des chercheurs qui trouvent, on en cherche. So, searcher looking for idea are easy to find. By searcher finding idea are difficult to find. It's a word, but it's really nice. And it's a deep provocation. We need research. We need fundamental research. I don't think that a transistor will be invented for a startup. I don't think so. You have fundamental research is needed, but you need people transforming product. I am one of these Neanderthal men trying to make something. I have to grip, I have to do. And I think the startup have to realize, and the speed is very important, and go to reality, try it, make mistake, but be convinced. You have only 4 bullets, and don't lose time. Your life is so short.
Tell me how many patents you have at Creaholic. I know you have many.
It's not Creaholic. I make myself approximately 150 patent family in my life. But that is only spermatozoid. The patents are not so difficult to make. The key problem is to select out of them how you can realize something. I will say something very strange to you. I was never saying that before in public, but in a way, innovation is Frankenstein work. You are looking for the best organ you can find somewhere, and you build a new life out of it. It looks terrible if you imagine Frankenstein, but if you imagine that you are selecting the best organ you can find to make a new out of it, you don't discover, you don't find a new material, you don't find a new technology, you find an assembly who makes sense. And this is the art of innovation on my level. I'm not a research man. I am not a physicist. I am not a genius. I'm simply a Neanderthal man trying to do something, and the best I can do.
When you have all those patents, though, if you only have 4 bullets, there's a process in trying to figure out which bullets you follow. So again, I want to revisit.
Yes, it's some process. I write a book about Innovation Factory in French.
And it's coming out in English, you said?
It's coming out in English next spring. I signed for 1 month the contract with the editor. And now we translate the book, and we added some metaphor, like the matriarch metaphor and this kind of thing, to explain what is the experience. And the metaphor is only to help you to take distance for yourself, to can imagine. And the book described the CK theory and told all the history of the Swatch, not to say that what is right or what is wrong, no, to explain the process of creativity. Because if you want to do something new, it's like if you want to make a baby, don't read the fairy tale. Read, please, the Kama Sutra. You have more chance to succeed. So you have to understand how it's happened and not hear the story around.
Let's talk about wearables. That's a big deal here in America, and I'm guessing from the hashtag wearables that I put in a recent tweet, it's also very popular in the UK. I had a lot of followers with wearables from the UK. I did an interview with David Rose here at the MIT Media Lab, and he wrote a book recently called Enchanted Objects. I am wondering if you think watches are the next solution, or do you think that it's something we haven't even thought of to replace the phone?
No. First, I think objects, what we have on us, have several functions. We actually make a little bit of mistake. We consider the technology as a fundamental function. In reality,
as a what kind of
technology? A watch, equal what you have, is a talisman. What you have around the neck is a talisman. You protect yourself. You are also a Neanderthal girl. Mm-hmm. And you have a natural need to be of protection and to show that you are for a tribe. You are in a team. You have friends around us. It's surprising how the modern world, every people look similar. They have similar cars, similar house, because they want to be in the tribe. And now, of course, you will have big movements. So for me, the smartwatch, they are exactly in the right direction. I'm sure they will have success. Will they have a long-term success is depend how the human interaction will be and how the real saving function, what can they solve and what do they bring to me. And so the fundamental archetype of connectivity, what is time, will survive because time is still needed. Mm-hmm. And so I think time will keep somewhere behind. But the new connectivity, saying to somebody, yeah, we meet somewhere, someone, you need this new communication system. In my time, it was impossible to say to somebody, yeah, we meet soon, and we don't know where, and we don't know when, but he will come. It was to say to the people, I don't meet you. You have to define a place and time. Now you don't need that. You have phone, connectivity, you can refine your friend. You are in fuzzy logic. And this fuzzy logic will come in this fascinating object, but they have an emotional relationship to us. So this talismanic element will keep. The need of tribe will keep.
I like that.
And the need of technology, I'm not so sure. Only if the technology resolves something deeply. Only if you have a good relationship to that.
But it's hard to think that we're not going to be completely wired all the time with Snapchat and Twitter and email. It may not be those forms, but we're now in a world that is connected. It's expected to be connected. So do you see it being a talisman of a watch, or do you see it being on our clothing? Do you see it being in my son who's 9 recently said, I think it's just going to appear in the air. I mean, are we just going to pull it down with our hands in the sky? Do you look at those sort of things right now at Creaholic?
We think around that, but we are not. I say to you, we are mercenary. So if we are not paid, we don't work. No money, no Swiss. It's
Anybody
quite
want to pay
famous.
the guy up here? Because I'd really like to know if it's going to be a
No,
watch
but
or not.
it's serious. We have to survive. So we look for concrete problem.
Do you think we're going to become these cyborgs? Do you and your group brainstorm about how we're going to be these extensions of computers? Because you seem to me as a sort of very sensual, humanistic person. So is the cyborg the way? Are you hoping for that or not?
My first dream was to work in robotic, and I was working in automation. I think, why to do a lot of work if a machine is able to do that for me? So of course that will come. I think, but that must be in the right way, and I think that arrived. It's no question for me, but it's not my focus. So I say to you, I'm simply a nomad and a Neanderthal. So I try to look one after the. I know what I will do the next 3 months. I have no idea what I will do in 1 year. No idea.
So you're not betting on the watch as a former watch guy?
I'm not. I was. My father was watchmaker. I make watchmaker engineers, plastic engineers. That was my roots. I love this know-how. But what interests me is the exploration, what I don't know. And maybe I come back to the watch industry. Maybe I think they come in the same trouble that they have in 1970. Exactly in the same.
I think so.
If they don't react, they will suffer. But it's not, sometimes you have to suffer to change. It's not too late. They can. The key problem, you see, the telecommunication industry and the electronic industry, they are like high fish, like we say, like big fish and sharks and baleine and whales.
Did you say technology and media industry? I'm sorry.
No, media technology for me is like fish, big fish. Watch industry is like bird. They are small, and everyone looks, hey, wow, how many money they can make with one watch. Hey, how many benefit, what is the margin they can produce? And the industry of software, of telecom, they dream for this money world. And you know, the bird, he dreamed to go in the water. And now we have this famous song of who saying a bird fell in love in a fish. It's what's happened now. Now the question is fundamental. Are the fish starting to fly, or are the flying engine starting to swim? So for me, it will be something happened. It will be a transformation. And I don't know now if the fish are becoming flying or this beautiful bird. You know, some birds are excellent swimmers. So I don't know. It's really fantastic opportunity for everyone. But you have to take the opportunity. And what I am a little bit disappointed in the last years, for 1 year, also the Hayek's son was saying, yeah, they are not gadgets, it's not influence us. It's terrible to think like that. It's a fantastic opportunity, it's a new world. And now they change. You will see the next 6 months, they will come with a lot of proposition, probably. I'm not internally, I cannot tell because I'm not working for them now. But I hope to be also actor, because active is interesting. But to be active, you have to have the brain of the company ready to act.
Well, I think it was testament tonight. I think a lot of people came out tonight to hear about what you think about wearables, because it is a space, and you are seen as someone who is very forward-thinking in that space. I think one of the things we'd like to know is a little bit more about you as a person. Do you have some rituals or some patterns of ways that you get into a creative space? Any favorite things that you do when you need to find creative space in your mind?
I like to look television. I like music. I like art. So I said, no, I have a wife who's beautiful. And my wife is also my haven. And she helped me to discover a world what I don't know. I am sometimes blind guy and I need support. And she's my help. And I help her in other things. And this for me is the key element. So for me it's one of the most important elements I had. But it's not a system. I'm not religious. I don't open a book from left or right, for right or left.
But in your early books it said you thought about becoming a monk. You were raised very Catholic.
Yes, I was very Catholic, and I was very, very close to become a monk, but I discovered sexuality. And it was a difficult decision to do. But the monk life, for me, it was fantastic because I was close of the Benedictine, and half of the day they study and half of the day they work. And there was a little bit this mixing of hand and brain. And I met a lot of monks, and for me, they was genius people. I like them very much. I was very close for religion because I came out of a Catholic family, and I was in this world. And for me, religion is a fascinating world also. And of course, I take a distance with the time, but the roots are similar. So for me, what I learned as kid in that time was so important for me. I don't know who will go. I don't know if God exists, but I'm sure that something exists, and I trust. And it's not important if I don't know. I don't need to know. I need to act. And I need to act correctly. And this acting is important. And not what I think, is what I do who is important.
I think one of the other things that is very attractive and admirable is that you left Swatch and only made 700 francs for the Swatch watch.
I was an employee.
And you were an employee, but it takes a very enlightened person to move on from that space and continue to create and say it's for creation's sake, not for money's sake.
First, money is not a target. Money is a result. You cannot look for money. You have to look for proposal, for solution, for human being. And if you have right, money will follow. But it's not a target, it's a result. So money is a need, is a tool, is something to do something with. And you cannot, and you have to change. So basically, it's a very old law. If you want to drink water, please leave close of water. In the creativity, you are in the mountain, far away from water. You need money. You don't have money. So money is your oxygen. You need it. But you have to do something with that in a different way. So for me, money was never my motivation. It was really the dream I was trying to follow, and I had the chance to make out of my dream a job. And I started this company in 86, so 30 years ago, and we still survive. I was thinking I can only survive myself. And I was teaching behind in university to have a little bit of salary because I had to pay something for my kids.
For your family.
And suddenly a student decided to come working with me. I say, are you an idiot? I cannot pay my salary. Why are you coming to me? And I jump and I make 100% grow of the company in one night. I never make that after. And it was, and that now we are 30 people.
30 people.
30 people, but the startup together we are 80. All the startup and Creolic. Around 80 people.
Will you share with everybody how you work in the shares, just in a surface view of it, that you're not allowed to hold on to the shares?
The problem of creativity and to keep creativity is injustice. The problem is you have the feeling it was unjust, you don't be creative. So the justice don't exist. But you can try to reduce the injustice. So I decide that the company I found will never be transmitted to my kids. They have to stay in the company. So I decided that I will make my colleagues, partners, and shareholder also. So I would have 100% shares. Now I have 30%. In 5 years, I will have 10%. And if someone buy a share of the company, it must be working in the company. You cannot buy a share outside the company. And the day of buying, you sell it. So you cannot keep a share forever. A share is only a recognizing that you was building a tool, and the share is the right to participate to the benefits of the year. So every salary is transparent, every bonus is transparent, and every benefit, if we have, will be shared between us. And this is a way of democracy. We are typical Swiss. We have votation principle, democratic principle, and we are something between a kolkhoz and a very capitalistic form. We are very capitalistic and very kolkhoz type. And it's not a political reason. It's only the way I found to survive. And to bring my colleague to entrepreneurial spirit, to change from employee to shareholder, from shareholder to developer, giving money. So if we make a startup, it's not owned by me. It's not owned by the company. It's not owned by the sum of the colleague who developed that together. They are investor. They have to decide. They have to choose. And it's surprising. All these creative people who pretend to have no idea for money, suddenly
Very
They
happy.
can calculate. And suddenly, they are not so ready to take risk. If their own money is in work, they decide differently. The reason why I say you must convince, and you might take a risk. And money is not the target, is the result. Maybe, maybe not.
Do you think this is something that can be applied to larger companies, or do you think this is a privilege of a 30-something firm?
I was thinking that is only for me alone. And after that, I was thinking, maybe 5 I can control. And now we have 30 and it's still growing. I think the principle is possible. The problem is how to deal with injustice. If you understand that creative people are like kids, it's not the problem what they have. It's why the brother
That's
has a
right.
little bit more and why I don't have. So the injustice
It's about
is driving.
fairness. It's not at the end of the
And
day about the money.
Yeah, we are perpetual adolescents. And this perpetual adolescent with creative mindset, you can't keep it. It's not a question of age. It's a question of mindset. And you must find an environment to help that. So I think it's possible in larger company. I never try. And I was not trying to make theory. I was trying to make a business out of it. I was trying to make margin, to survive, and to have a solution. Not to be rich, simply to make out of my passion a work.
To be able to have more eggs.
Yeah, and now I'm so happy to see that my colleagues are better than myself.
I think we better get you over to Harvard Business School to do a case study. I'm going to open the floor up to other people because I know a lot of you have come here to speak to Elmar. So if you would like to ask him a question, please feel free.
I bring all to sleep.
Hi, I'll try to word this in English, though I think it would come easier in French. But when you take the image of the bee going from a flower to a flower, like you going to Tetra Pak and then possibly to one of their competitors, Nestle, you mentioned, doesn't that pose some serious conflicts of interest, or how do you go through the intellectual property to make sure that you don't cross-pollinate them?
Now, we have to be very strict. So we have always contract with our client. And what we develop for them is owned by them. We don't have revenue out of patent we make for our client. They are owner. But we have the right to use our the patent we did in other fields. And if I come in a conflict situation, that was the case between Tetra Pak and Nestle. I was working for Tetra Pak. Nestle came to us. I was asking Nestle, Tetra Pak, do you have a problem if I work with Nestle? And they said, look, Nestle is not a competitor, it's a client. So please, in one condition, don't work with paperboard. If you have an idea or something turning around paperboard, please make the triangle with us. And we did that like so. So we are working for Nestle. It's not a competitor for Tetra Pak. But we can never work for SIG, for example, in Switzerland. We was asked several times. We cannot. We cannot work for international paper. In my normal theory, I speak about the matriarch. And the matriarch is like in life. You must never sleep with the same girl in the same village. You have to change.
Okay.
It's very important. Excuse me. I know in US you should not talk about sex, but...
No, sex is fine. It's just the equality I like to work on. We say the same thing, don't sleep with the same man in the same village.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll do this. I'm part of an organization that is trying to do a lot of creativity and almost in a way it's a large organization and it's almost in a way trying too hard to make people creative, forcing creativity, if you will. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on, we're seeing a lot of large organizations, we mentioned Apple, Google's, the big companies that have managed to start with this kernel of creativity and scaled up and created these big products and are now in that solid state where they're trying to either disrupt themselves from within or nurture that creative kernel that they once had. What's your advice in being successful and as a large organization to foster the creative spirit and still not completely destroy the core that made you where you are now?
You force me to come in a difficult questions, but okay, I try. So I apologize my way of explaining. I compare that to a mom. A mom, first, the brain has to have the wish to have a kid. Because in the industry, we don't speak for gender, we don't speak for human. We speak for life. The mom, she's looking to have healthy kids. But if she don't want to have kids, they have the right to abort. Not in the negative sense that you have in human being. The boss of a company can decide to stop a development anytime, to stop an activity anytime, to close a factory anytime. And this mom exists because she's like the elephant. She has a lot of daughters. And these daughters, they exist themselves and they can have kids also. So the tribe is important, the name of the tribe. And the tribe, everything will be developed, will have the name of the tribe. Now the mom, to have a baby, she need an internal ability to make kids. If she don't have an uterus, she cannot not have a kid. So you need a certain ability intern. But you need also external genetic. You need, because in the other case, you make a clone. You make a copy for the mother. And a lot of development, they show to the mom a copy for the mom, say, oh, mom, I make you younger. Oh, look how beautiful you was. Please never make that the daughter is the copy of the mother. Make that the daughter is different than the mother. And now this external genetic, they are people like Creolic, they are inventors, they are startups, they are university, they are lots of male around us, ready to help this company. But it's like in life, it's difficult to choose a partner. The mom have to choose a partner. But not forever, for time being. She will change every 6 months. Because she's polyandric, she has a lot of partner. She look for the best kid, not for the best man.
And that partner may not be in-house, it's likely external.
It could be in-house, because you have the in-house is the genetic of the mom, is the uterus. You have in-house something. And now the big problem is the antibody. Because all the muscle, all what they say to the mom is, make innovation, make me bigger, make my activity more important. It's not that. It's a new life you are looking for. No. And all the organs, they are against innovation. They try to kill the innovation because it's not the same genetic. It's a natural protection. Because the muscle, they won't be world champion. They don't want to have this strange thing with a baby. It's horrible. If you think what is a baby, it's an external life in a mom. Is eating in the mom, is ejecting everything in the mom. The mom, all the organs are overload due to this new life. The mom is deformed due to this life. And she pretends she's happy. It's incredible. And if you look at that for that point, it's exactly the same in the industry. Are you in the brain? And if you are not open to have a baby, you will never have a baby. Are you in the muscle? If you produce too many antibodies, you will kill the innovation. Are you in the uterus? Please don't make a clown. Don't make the future a copy from the past. Look for external genetic. External genetic can be here in Swissnex, can be in Boston University, can be in Bien in Crowley, somewhere in the world. They have people. But these people, the big mistake for a lot of entrepreneurs is they forgot to change sex. Because if you are a creative man, you are or girl, you have in the male mentality. Now you have to become a female, not looking having new idea, bringing the idea to the reality. This is the mom story. The dream of a mom is to have 3 good kids, going in good education, having success. The dream of the father, not human, of course, is to have a lot of relation and to bring the maximum genetic around. Creativity, producing idea, is only spermatozoid. It's nothing. It's very easy.
It's carrying it.
It's choosing the right one and changing its life. This is the target. And that it happens in every industry, in every company, in every system. And you have different model. You have the the elephant model, the frog model, the bird model, you have plants model, you have a lot of model in the nature, and the nature always have the same problem, surviving short term and surviving long term. And if the company only try to make money, they survive short term. If company only make new product, they disappear because they cannot earn money. Because the target of innovation is to refound the way having margin. Because if you repeat the same 20 times, your margin reduces because the client is terrible. He asks for more and is not ready to pay for more. So you have to go in China, you have to...
You're cannibalizing the same market.
The margin go down. So you have to rediscover something new to reproduce margin. Margin are needed. It's the oxygen of the industry.
Another question? Yes, in the front.
I'd like to ask you about your time frame things, because it seems to me there might be another model. You're saying you have got 4 shots. When you're saying you've got 4 shots, you're saying you've got 4 decades. I'm assuming that's how you
yes.
Right?
Because a product
60,
normally
30
needs
70,
5 to
whatever.
10 years.
Okay.
I don't speak for apps. Apps can go much more faster.
So now, if you're looking at it from a financial point of view or other points of view, people have portfolios, and the reason they have portfolios is a priori we do not know what other forces that we cannot envision are going to come in. Displacement technology,
Yes.
a whole new change in the market, a whole new change in the world, in finance, and so on. And so therefore it seems to me that if you have these 4 Johnny One Notes, these 4 projects, it would be much better to have a diversification. So that's point number 1. And therefore you could be having these little, like having 10 children and which one's going to turn out the best if you want to go to that analogy. But also to go to the family analogy, I think we're dealing with where one person's trying to do too much. Is trying to do the marketing, trying to understand the technology, trying to put together the deal, trying to be Mr. Onassis. And I think due to the fact that we don't have stability in relationships, now we are not mature enough to have a much more sophisticated family relationships, meaning the professional family, where we can have people doing the different pieces reliably. So I was wondering what your opinion is on this time frame thing from both the diversity point of view and to an individual like yourself, myself, someone who's entrepreneurial, should be able to have their weaker suits done reliably by other trustworthy people.
So it was a lot of questions simultaneously. 4 shot is for one ant. We are one ant. Together, we are a sum of ant. We have a lot of shot together.
Can you say that word for me again? I didn't understand.
Ant, une fourmi.
Ant.
We are small. As human, to realize something, you need 5 to 10 years. You cannot realize every day something new. So it's take energy. But the sum of the human is like the ant. They are able to make huge things together. And I absolutely agree with you. In investment, you have to go in diversification. You have to go in different direction. And that's also the exploration, because you don't know what will happen. And that is totally correct. But as I was speaking for the 4 shot was for one man. So every man has not the power to do everything. Be proud what you are doing, make it right, and go be convinced what you do. That is an important thing as singular human. Now, as model, I was describing the nature. In the beginning, don't try to make the best cell of heart, of brain, and of skin to make a new baby. You need to have stem cell. And stem cells are these people who are able to change rapidly. And once they have to focus, once they have to specialize, and once they have to become a very complex organization with specialization. And this is normally not the same people. They change. And some owner or some entrepreneur, they dream to be Onassis and they forgot that normally those who make the success are not those who make the idea. You must accept that it's a different world. And the people, I cannot make business. I will be rich probably. I cannot. I can make ID and I can transform that to bring something good, and I am looking for people able to bring the next step. And I accept my limitation. And the thing by my age is I know my limit. I make such a lot of mistakes in my life. I know the limit, but I know that the sum of people, we are really great and we can do things. And that is the strong element of this connectivity and of this working together. But together is not alone. And if I speak for working together, it's like external and internal developers have to exchange to find a new solution. And they must this time sell in the beginning, but once they have to come to reality and to develop focus. And if you come out of the money world, it's so important because the money is the blood, the money is the oxygen, the money is needed. It's not a target, it's a tool. And if you use the tool correctly, we will have great life. And if you are not using the tool correctly, we will not have success. So I consider money as one of the very important elements in the balance of development.
I really love that you said that because I think it's really important. A lot of these people I interview, you can tell the ones who understand who they are. And when they understand who they are, their communication and interview is so much stronger. You know that you're the creator. You know that you create, and then there's someone else who comes along and maybe will make the money with it. And I think that is just such, I love that you said that because I find some of my most interesting interviews I've had out of the 52 we've done on theeditorial.com. The most interesting ones are people who know what they're good at and they know where they need other people. It's hard to figure that out.
Yeah, it's hard to recognize where do you feel well. Don't force you to do something you don't like. Find your balance, find your personal pleasure. You need to have pleasure. If you don't have pleasure in what you do, you don't make a good job. So it makes no sense to make a job because it's fun or it's look nice, while be an entrepreneur. And it's wording. It's creating, it's making, and it's doing, and it's having pleasure. And without the pleasure, you have no success.
Can we let one more question be asked before we finish?
Yeah? If they still are not sleeping on.
I have something that's more comment, bouncing off something you said earlier than a question, in a completely different ballpark. Picasso used to say, "Je ne cherche pas, je trouve." I don't look, I don't seek, I don't go looking for things, I find. And I think it's that total openness to what's going to come along that you don't know. You don't know what you're looking for, but you find it.
Thank you very much, because I think art is something very interesting. I don't understand modern art because I am not modern art, a contemporary art. My wife understands that, she loves that. I have more problem. I have a Neo-Neanderthal. If I look something, I want to buy it, or I will to have it home. That is my feeling. It's the reason why I am by product. But the art is fantastic because they are really in advance with the sensitivity and the potential to work with emotion. At the end, the technology is for nothing. It's only the emotion and the pleasure who count. And we will have success only if we have this part. And the difficulty of engineers is that they don't understand that. And it's so important to look to the emotion. And you must find a way. And I agree with you, Picasso was a great genius, and he found a lot of things. I'm not sure that all contemporary art are the same genius. I will not have a toilet in my home in the reverse position as provocation. So there are some limits, but I have some problem.
It's funny that Picasso's been brought up because my father recently sent me an email, literally within the week, saying, don't forget that Picasso had a patron, and that's how he got to market. I think we have one more question.
So sort of in this quest to find the perfect organism, are there any companies you admire where you feel that they sort of solve this duality of growing a business and also keeping creative at the same time?
You know, everything what you see today is 2 to 3 years old. So I cannot give you the actual stage. But of course, company like Apple, of course, company like Swatch has made a great deal in the past. Now the past is past. What come in the future, that is the deal. And now I think there are a lot of movement happened, a lot of exchange, and I think the world was never so fascinating than today. And this new potential we have to learn how to play with. Where like kids, we receive fantastic play like internet, interconnectivity. We can exchange worldwide. We are in a village. Can we play with that? Can we learn out of that? Or are we blocked in front of our computer? And this is the fantastic deal who came to us. And I think this opportunity is great. We never had such a lot of intelligent people, schooled people, potential technology in the past of the humanity that we have today. We have a great potential. And this is, for me, what makes me so happy. And I think I'm only one ant. Only my 4 shots. But the million of people, we have millions of shots. We have a great chance to reach the right target. Maybe not me, but another one. But I have to focus on my shot, not on this shot, the other one. I must think that I am in charge of my gun. It's my life. So don't think that the other one will make the job for you. Make that for you first. And look ahead for the other one, but not count too much on the other. Look for your job.
And your place of pleasure.
Pleasure, exchange, finding, this is key. You know, I don't know if I can tell that here, but okay.
We have a few 12-year-olds in the room.
One very singularity between 2 totally different human beings. A serial killer and a serial innovator have something together. They love what they do.
I think that we're all going to look forward to having your book out in English next spring.
Excuse me.
I hope there's a few more of those metaphors in there for the entertainment. I will post our interview. I'm looking forward to editing it down on theeditorial.com, which is where I do this online series with visionaries. It's been a real pleasure to interview you tonight. I think that you are far more enlightened than most creatives, and I hope that you will continue to talk to us and let us know what you're up to.
Thank you.